With the decade ending, what is a positive development since 2010 that everyone should know about? Massive increases in computing power, both through the Core Wars circa 2017 and general purpose GPU that became big with CUDA circa 2012, have advanced science, mathematics, visual effects, and gaming. Both voyagers have left the area dominated by the sun's influence and are still barely operational, meaning humanity has created multiple working interstellar spacecraft. My mom had a few dentist visits this year. She said she's amazed by the progress they made in this area. It was really comfortable, and she thinks it was way more unpleasant to visit the dentist some years ago. Trikafta. Brand new FDA approved drug for most of the cystic fibrosis community. Up to around 90% are eligible for it, but it's too harsh for some. I've been on it a month and it's changed my life. Modern smartphones maybe? I know my phone in 2010 had nowhere near the capabilities my Pixel has now. My laptop I have now is incredible compared to my computer then. Mirrorless cameras are pretty awesome too. Medical advancements overall. HIV advancements, ALS, CF, Alzheimer's, CBD and medical stuff, cancer. A lot of it I don't see on major news sources, but from what I've read they're incredible. I'm on mobile so sorry for my format, I'm sure it's crap. 3D printing has saved countless lives and pushed the boundaries for new technology in the future. From personalized bone implant techniques to the ability to print hearts from stem cells, the sheer addition to modern medicine will be greatly remembered for the overwhelming popularity and advancement of this technology. Solar energy has been and continues to be a growing area of energy. I forget the sources recently that demonstrated that it has become more efficient than coal and other traditional sources in many cases, and the technology is young enough to continue having growth into the 2020s. Fun fact, adding plants under a solar array that sits in an urban area, such as on concrete, can increase the power output of the solar by up to 11%. For area with barren land underneath, the increase is about 5% when plants are added underneath. Using either or a mix of edible plants and pollinator plants, it also makes the space under the panels useful as well. The plants under the solar panels create a cool microclimate that cool down the panels, so they perform more efficiently. This is unpopular amongst some of my friends, but streaming services for music like Spotify and Apple Music have helped me. I would have never discovered better music and artists that are more suited to my personal tastes otherwise. I just don't have the money to buy record after record at a store or digitally. A music subscription also allowed me to listen to artists as varied as Plastic Man, The Beatles, Finally, Outkast, Iron Maiden, John Coltrane, Erykah Badu, Kelela, even Merzbow. I'm allowed to be more curious and free with what music I feel like discovering today. I remember as a teen in the early 2000s I would either have a limited selection of music or had to wait until I had money to afford music. It was needless. I understand there are a lot of complications with streaming, but I believe that is another, much bigger conversation than what this thread needs. CRISPR-Cas9 was discovered, leading to possibly the greatest leap in genetic modification for the purposes of scientific research in history, allowing us an unprecedented increase in our understanding of disease. Yeah, this advancement alone opens up a whole new world when it comes to gene therapy alone, not to mention the implications it could have in areas like population epigenetics, agriculture, drug research and pharmacology, and many others. It's honestly insane. In 10, maybe 15 to 20 years we might be at a point where we can use CRISPR to cure genetic defects before embryos develop and are born. I can't believe this doesn't have any comments. I'm no scientist, but from my limited understanding this discovery could change the course of human history. It is both amazing and terrifying the potential it has. If anyone who hasn't heard of this wants to know what it is, listen to the podcast Radiolab. They have a couple of episodes that deal with it. Also, if you want to see how scary the implications can be, watch the last season of Designated Survivor. You have more options to choose paperless with things like insurance bills and heavy paperwork. Instead of receiving a £5 stack of papers in the mail, you can just do it online, since no one reads those anyways and you only need to sign a few pages. I guess mass food delivery too for people that aren't always able to go out of their house, i.e. elderly and handicapped. It's with both groceries and fast food. I had a child diagnosed with leukemia at the beginning of the decade and my other child diagnosed at the end of the decade. In those years, the life expectancy has gone up from 90% survival to 95%. I don't have official numbers or anything, but it's still quite a change and vastly better than it was even 30 years ago, and even more so 60 years ago. Cancer survival rates have gone up tremendously. Thanks to modern medicine and continuing scientific advancements, there are many people alive today who can say they beat cancer, including myself, twice. Hopefully by the time a post similar to this one comes around for the end of the next decade, I can say that I'm one of the scientists who has helped advance the field even further. We just completed the least violent decade in recorded human history. Despite all the news reports about mass shootings and other events, violent crime levels have fallen drastically. For example, nearly 60% in the US since 1994. There are no major wars going, and only isolated events. It is safer right now than it ever has been. Don't let social media and 24-hour news fearmongering make you think the world is going crazy. Violence is slowly fading. LifeStraw is an incredible product helping turn muddy, contaminated water into fresh, clean drinking water for some 780 million people worldwide who don't have access to clean water sources. It may not seem like much to those of us that have access to clean water already, but portable reservoirless means if purifying contaminated water is a godsend to less fortunate countries. Freezing off fat. This was approved by the FDA at the start of the decade and is a fantastic way to help with fat loss. It isn't a cure, but it does help a lot because it can safely kill fat cells. Diet and exercise does not kill fat cells, though you still should diet and exercise. Mathematician here. There's been a lot of really positive stuff in this thread, and I'd like to list some discoveries in math that have been in the last decade. A pair of prime numbers are called twin primes if they are two apart. For example, 29 and 31 are twin primes. But 37 doesn't have a twin, since 35 and 39 are both not prime. A very long-standing open question is if there are infinitely many twin primes. For a very long time, we couldn't even prove the following much weaker statement. There's some constant case such that there are infinitely many primes p and q, where p and q are within k of each other. For example, if k was 6, this would assert that there are infinitely prime pairs like 37 and 43. Then in what was a stunning breakthrough, Yitong Zhang in 2013 proved that there are infinitely many primes p such that there's another prime within 70 million of p. That's still a long way from being two apart, but was really neat. Then, a whole host of mathematicians, led by Terry Tao and James Maynard, managed to reduce the bound a lot. There's a fun period where one could basically read daily updates and see the number slowly tick down as different mathematicians tweaked the ideas. They finally slowed and got to a stop at 246. So the best result we know now is that there are infinitely many primes p, where there is another prime within 246 of p. There are some fundamental technical barriers to going much below 246, and it is likely that very big breakthroughs will be needed before the original twin prime problem is solved, but the situation has shown dramatic progress in the last few years. The other big one is progress on the Hadwiger-Nelson problem. The problem asks the following. Imagine you try to assign a color to every point on the plane, and you want to color every point so that no two points which are exactly one away from each other are the same color. So for example, if I've colored the point 1, 2 blue, then the point 1, 3 could be red, but it couldn't be blue. What is the minimum number of colors needed to color the whole plane? Before thinking about this further, it is worth thinking about how one would establish that this number is finite. Try to see if you can show that one can get away with at most 16 colors. For a long time, the best known bounds were that the answer was 4, 5, 6, or 7. That is, we could show that to do this, you need at least 4, and we knew that one could away with 7, but we didn't know what the true answer was. Then in 2018, Aubrey D. Gray, who actually works on aging research and biology by profession, came up with a proof that one couldn't get away with just 4 colors. There's been a lot of other mathematical discoveries, but most of the other interesting ones are a bit more technical and tougher to explain.